there was something we were talking about on Facebook, and I thought I really need to remind Nicola that the reason she feels that is because she's more drawn to a man than a woman.
I think I feel more like a man than a woman. Man, I feel like a woman.
I've already written tomorrow's newsletter in which I describe the sense of which I've got a blokey energy as well.
Yeah. God, that was a great show. Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. I'm gonna take my time. Good morning.
Morning, caller. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. At our new time.
Yes. All right, good. Now, tell me about your week.
Well, my journey back was uneventful, but hair-raising. I've written here several things. One, 3 men and me in their car does not make for an odorous atmosphere.
Oh.
Someone kept letting rip, and it certainly wasn't me, although Phoebe did malign me horribly when I was texting her to say...
She said you are also known as a farter, did she?
She didn't actually say that. She said, Ma, are you sure it's not you? I said, no, it's definitely not me. The other thing was the heater was either on or off. It wasn't the usual taxi, I have to say. It was someone doing a favour for a friend who does drive a taxi normally, but his heater was either on or off. And he kept rather disconcertingly reaching down under the passenger dashboard to turn it on or off.
Is that where you were sitting? No,
I was in the back. But I was thinking, surely you could get the passenger to do that. Then every time he turned it off, the heater, the car steamed up. So then we're banging down an Athenian motorway. Took an hour to find the third passenger, by the way. So I had a nice drive through Athens suburbs and centre, which took about an extra hour on the journey. But by the time we were bombing down the motorway, the car was either steaming up or whatever. And the other thing was rather disconcerting. He kept looking at his social media while he was driving.
God, and that's a scary road in parts, isn't it?
It's okay because at that time of night, on a Friday night, there wasn't much traffic, and the weather's been bad. But although the weather was better this time, he was obviously trying to save petrol as well, because whenever there was a big bend, he would just literally just drive straight. So you know what I mean? So if the 3 lanes are going around a bend, he went from whichever lane to whichever lane he had to shave the distance off the journey. But luckily there was hardly anything else on the road by that time. So
this sounds to me like hell on wheels.
It was a little bit terrifying, but I just kept saying to myself, the other 2 passengers don't look completely phased at all. So I employed what I do on planes, which is look at the air hostesses, and if they look fine, don't panic.
Mm. Well, I think they go to school, though, to learn to look like that, don't they?
Yeah, they probably do, but they wouldn't take it if it was really a crash, would they?
Well, you do see articles when they... let's go there, okay? Because now I'm not in taxis, I certainly don't want to not go in aeroplanes.
No. So then the other thing that's happened to me this week is I've had a little breakthrough on this whole handing over to a new VA thing, because it was starting to stress me out rather badly, because I've got stuff, I've got my usual stuff to do. I've had a few little admin glitches that I'll tell you about afterwards, that you'll find amusing as an accountant. And then I've also become obsessed with how long the batteries are lasting in my mouse and keyboard. But in the meantime, in the middle of all of that, I'm back in my lovely, peaceful, clean, tidy house.
Yeah.
And I've hired a project manager, because I was talking to Steph about my issues with this whole handover thing, in that I don't have the time to do the training, and Sarah won't do the training. So who's going to supervise and train and all that stuff? So, and she asked me a question that suddenly made me realise I could actually hire a project manager to manage the handover.
And that would be the project beginning, middle, and end.
Yes.
Yes.
And then ongoing from there, the new person would manage themselves, hopefully, and then when we bring a new person on, they would manage them. But I suddenly realised, I don't have to do all this myself. I could just hire a project manager for a month to do it.
So would you have to brief that person?
Yes.
But you're expecting that person to be more able than the VA?
Definitely.
Okay.
But I've been waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, when you wake up bolt upright and you know you're not going back to sleep again. I think you've had some of those this week, haven't you?
I did one the night before last, where I got up in the middle of the night to go for a wee, as you do. Then I lay in bed for 2 hours, so 3 till 5, writing my newsletter in my head.
Yeah.
Then between 5 and 7, an email correspondence between me and Sharon, who I lived with in Kent, because I do her accounts as having paid my way for being there, although I noticed I lived there for a year, but I'm now on the 3rd year of doing the accounts. But anyway, by the by, she contacted me that morning at sort of 4:54, so she was clearly awake as well, saying, have I had everything from you regarding the accounts, or have I missed an email? And in the end, we worked out that there was something I hadn't done, which meant that she had to come around yesterday with a whole file full of bank statements, and I've had to cancel my day tomorrow because, of course, the deadline for this stuff is the 31st, which is next week. And honestly, I stopped doing accounts in 2007, and I'm really I don't know how I'm going to force myself today and tomorrow, given the shortage of daylight as well, because I can no longer see well enough to do small accounting figures at night. It's honestly, it's horrible. And when I finish it, I'm going to have to say to her, I know once I open the file and get stuck in, I'll probably quite enjoy it. Yeah. But the dread before I have to do it is like, oh, no, I don't want to say something, aren't you? I don't want to do this. Well, it's churlish not to do it for her because she was so kind to me.
I know, but how long? I mean, this is exactly the conversation we had yesterday.
Well, don't go into this because there's something that I'm waiting to happen. She's involved in that. She'll be able to afford to hire somebody to do it imminently. So it's not a problem very much longer. What is a problem for me is because I've got friends. I had a friend visiting me tomorrow morning and 2 friends coming to lunch on Saturday, and I've cancelled the friend for tomorrow morning. And I don't want to lose my weekend to all day with people I love on Saturday and then all day with accounting on Sunday. That's no weekend for me. I mean, I'll love all of it, but it's just like I'm getting myself in a state like I did before the Cashflow game. And when you finish telling me about your week, I'll tell you about the Cashflow game.
Well, I've finished telling you about my week, so crack on.
Well, marvellous, actually, because you remember I got myself in a bit of a state about this, which is we're going to have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning because we need 3 hours to drive across London. And the reason I thought I needed 3 hours to drive across London is because my beautician, Sue, who's on Wandsworth Common, is halfway to where I was going. And that journey took me an hour and a half in November. So if I was going twice as far, I need 3 hours, especially since I certainly don't want all my clients to arrive from places like Edinburgh and I'm not there from further across London. That would just be ghastly. So I got up at 5 and I left the house at 5:30. And using an app, I'd looked at several map apps. I love maps, I absolutely love maps. And all of the map apps had offered me 3 choices of route. And I know London so well that on each of the 3 routes, there was, oh, God, horrible bottleneck there. Oh, this isn't any better. Oh, no, I couldn't make up my mind which one of these to choose. And there's another app that my brother recommended to me ages ago, and I installed it and then I uninstalled it, called Waze, W-A-Z-E. And at 5:30 outside the house, it offered me the same 3 choices of route, and I picked what I thought was the least worst. But the thing about Waze is it changes its mind while you're en route and keeps recalculating. It took me a genius way there and back. And the short version of this is I got there in 50 minutes.
So how early were you?
I got there at 6:20. I'd already said to my client, what time will it be all right to come in? And we'd agreed about 8:30 because she had to walk the dog at 7:45. And so I had a lovely treat. I had 2 lovely treats. I'd gone to bed early on the Thursday night. And while I was asleep, you'd PM'd me to say that tomorrow's episode was available for me to listen to. And that was an hour and 12 minutes long. So first of all, I went into Starbucks, which I haven't been into a Starbucks for as long as I can remember. And I absolutely love a Starbucks, especially if I can park outside. And before I bought my home coffee making machine, I used to go to Starbucks every day of my life. And I bought my home coffee machine something like 2011, I think. And I've not really had cause to go to a coffee shop ever since then. And I actually love Starbucks. So I went into Starbucks. There were 2 early morning owls in there, and I had mine. And then I got back in the car and I listened to us for an hour and 12 minutes. And by the time I got to Alice's house, I'd done our podcast. I'd done the I'd done all my emails. I'd done the publicity that I do first thing in the morning on Fridays for our show of the day. I'd done my thing that I put into my I Love My Life group, which is 3 gratitudes. I'd literally done all my day's work before I started. So she let me in at 8:30. Anyway, I'll tell you, this absolutely genius thing, I discovered something really interesting. It was, so you'd think, wouldn't you, that leaving home at 5:30 in the morning and getting back at 8:30 at the night would be completely knackering. It's certainly the longest day that I've worked for many years. And that was all down to it not being at my own venue. So there was a host who was Alice, the artist. And what she did was she took care of what might seem like little things. Do you remember when we used to do a lot of workshops and our dream was just to turn up and be brilliant and to have somebody do all of the logistics for us, and it never happened? Anyway, Alice did that. She did coffee, tea, water, glasses, cups, washing up. Lou, where's the nearest lunch spots? What's the address? Where can I park? How can I get there? And after I arrived at 8:30 and was setting up the game and they were all coming at 9:30, she made a cake. So all I had to think about was arrive on time, meet my own needs, bring my own lunch, lay out the game, look after the clients, and driving to and from. It took such a load off me. It made it phenomenally much more enjoyable than normal. My learning on the day was, why do it all yourself? And maybe that's the future of the games. I'll come to your place so long as it isn't too far away from me, and you do all the rest of it. What I always found difficult in our workshops was we not only had to deliver the content, but we had to do all of that hugging and handshaking and smiling and, oh, I'm so pleased to meet you because I've read your newsletter for so long. I loved that. I just couldn't. Where are the toilets? How do I pay if I haven't already? Well, you should have paid. I don't know how you got. All of that was just. It was the straw that broke this camel's back. And so I've realized that, a cash flow game for me has to be a 2-woman tag team. And I have to it's better if it's their house, as long as it's not a long drive. And it's better if there's a host.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Learning how things can be done in a fun way makes you want to do them again, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, when I'm at my house and they used to come, which was quite small, coffees, and could we have more coffees? And usually somebody would try and help with the washing up. But my flat in London was so tiny that even though we went down the garden shed, I just find it. So when Alice brought glasses out, I went, you probably don't want glasses because they usually spill their water in the excitement of the game. And, just things like that I didn't have to think about was just a dream, actually. Now, while we were there, so we started playing at 10 o'clock, and on Fridays at 10 o'clock my newsletter goes out. So it went out, so that was quite funny. There you are doing something in real life, and something you've set up automatically to go out goes out. And when I started in that newsletter by saying, by the time you read this, I'll be playing Cashflow in London. 2 people asked if they could join the queue for the next one. Lots of people loved the main article, and they wrote in to tell me so. And one of them asked me to turn it into a blog so that she could share it, because I taught her how to do it ages ago, and she wanted everybody to know about it. And 2 asked to become clients, including that chap I told you about last week, the venture capital wannabe.
Oh, yeah.
And he was one of the ones that wants to play Cashflow as well. 5 clients are booked into my diary on that week.
Wow.
This week alone. Returners, Pay What You Want, Crazy Bespoke. And I still haven't put up the damn webpage for Crazy Bespoke yet, or created the new Setwell category. Just too busy, actually. And the really exciting thing about this, and we haven't even got to Fueled Your Fire yet, is recently my newsletters have improved in their ability to draw replies, comments, clients, appreciation, compliments about my writing, and all-round encouragement for me, and engagement with my readers. And that's why I do it, and it's lovely. So it was lovely. That was all 2 lovely things all happening simultaneously while I was doing something I absolutely love to do, which was teaching them how to play Cashflow.
Well, I don't think it gets any better than that, does it?
No, well, it got better in the afternoon, because the girl that won the game, and there's no winning really in Cashflow, but the person who notionally won, she not only won in the morning, she won in the afternoon as well. Wow. So she had a brilliant day, and she was the one that came from Edinburgh. And I always say and think that the person who comes the farthest gets the best results, because you've got the skin in the deal.
Yeah.
It'd be awful to go to London from Edinburgh and just have a grisly game, wouldn't it? So, but she won in the way that's absolutely my favourite, which is you land on one of those ones where you pay the money to buy it, but you've got to throw a certain number on the dice in order to get it. And it was like a Russian oil rig or something like that. And you have to pay the money down, which was like 200,000. And then you had to throw a 4, 5 or 6 on the dice. And she said she was going to throw a 5. And there were 5 players and me. We turned over all the other other dices onto 5, and I said, no, look, all of us have to focus on a 5, and Sam is going to throw a 5, and she had a lovely giggle as she did it, and she threw it, and it was a 5. And it's just the best way to win that game, because everybody goes, yahoo, and throws up their arms in the air.
Yeah.
And we've all been a part of the woman. I teach them that they can throw anything, and they believe me, and they do. And it's just the best way to finish that game.
Wow.
I know. It's like going to a casino in a way, and people were going, why are you putting down 200,000 to buy something that you may actually not end up with? You know, so it's very good learning, that one as well, because you only do, you know, let's face it, 4, 5 or 6 on a dice is 50% at least.
Yeah.
Odds. Well, no, they're good odds for me, 50%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, tell me what's fueled your fire.
What's fueled my fire is I got my first module of my Curtis Brown Creative.
Oh, well done.
Yes. And I've read all of it. I've watched the videos. I've looked at the extra thing. I haven't done the exercise yet. That should have been submitted yesterday if I wanted feedback on it. But to be honest, it didn't matter because it helped me have a bit of a breakthrough with my own writing. So
okay.
So the next module's being released today, but I'm very busy today, so I won't be getting to look at it.
And when's the deadline for the submission for the homework for that, or don't you know yet?
Oh, it's every week by Wednesday because they release a new module on Thursday.
Thursday, okay, so you get a week to do it.
Yeah, but
okay.
I did have a little breakthrough in my story watching module 1, so so far it's earned its keep.
Well, that's 2 breakthroughs you've had this week.
Yes, it's been quite good.
Yeah.
And then I also went to a Write Club meeting yesterday, and we watched the little 5 videos of the story grid. I think I've told you about that.
Yeah.
And really enjoyed that. Sharing it, they say that you learn things better when you're trying to teach others, don't they?
Yes.
And so I was trying to teach the ladies of what it was all about and how I'd applied it. So we all watched the videos, and then we talked about how it would make a difference to our books. So that's my fuel. And then that led me on then to come back to my new book, my new business book, which I'm looking
Attract
at.
2.0 or 3.0.
No, 3.0, yes.
Yeah.
And I've got the page up for that now. So and I've also bought a domain name, nicolasbook.com.
Okay.
Because I'm following Frank Kern's thing.
You can't get an apostrophe in there. Oh.
I know. I had to just let that go.
Oh, I could never let that go, and I can't have hyphens either.
Well, I couldn't think what else to do. So Nicola Book, that's not the same.
No, that's horrible. It's worse.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so he's got kernbook.com and kerncall.com and kernclass.com, which I like, but I can't do something like that.
Because your surname's too long, you mean?
Yes.
Because your surname's very distinctive, that's the only thing I would say.
I know, but the problem is that, and he's nailed it, really. So when you're watching something on mobile, you want something really short to type.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
If it's not a live link, you want to be able to remember it easily.
Yes, I've been teaching somebody that this week, which I'll tell you about in a minute.
So nicolasbook.com is the best outcome, I think.
Yes.
It is painful for those of us who know about apostrophe.
Yes. It's funny you should say that, actually, because I had an email this morning from the chap that you and I both know. I always call him the blue-eyed one. You know who I mean?
Yes.
And he sent me I'm just opening up my emails to read it to you, because he sent me he clearly subscribes to something that sends him a book summary that I don't know how often it comes.
Oh, yeah.
But it's got a 1 page PDF book summary and a short video. And he says, you'll like this. I thought you might enjoy this. I watched the video, but the 1 page PDF attachment is pretty good too. A line that resonated for me is, learning to label emotions with a more nuanced vocabulary can be absolutely transformative. To which I replied, would that the entire world was appreciative of a more nuanced vocabulary. I mean, apostrophes are a tall order, let alone a nuanced vocabulary.
Yeah.
I thought that was very funny.
Oh my God. Oh, that's very good. So what about you? What's fueled your fire?
Yeah, well, you'll like this. And remind me at the end, I had a bit of a breakthrough. Remind me at the end of this chunk to go back to that thing about nicolasbook.com and short URLs, okay?
Yeah.
So last week, I think, I was so excited about this. I sent you a little tantalizing message earlier in the week, didn't I? Saying you're going to be amazed with what I'm going to tell you on Friday, Thursday, whatever day we're on. So last week we talked about, it hasn't gone out yet as we speak, but the listeners will have heard it. We talked about pro-blogging.
Oh, yes.
And finding something you'd be interested in forever as a micro niche.
Yes.
So I went, as advised by you, and looked up my most popular traffic driving blog posts in the short, medium and long term.
Ooh.
And I discovered something that didn't surprise me at all. In fact, I half knew it. I certainly knew it about one or two of them. But none of them have anything at all to do with business coaching. They are all woo-woo.
Oh, okay.
And they all go back to 2012, 2013, and 3 of them to 2014. And they're called Why Does Kindness Make Us Cry? Abundance is a Choice. I knew I've had a client from that one. Abundance is a Choice. Pray Rain Journaling, which is when you pray for rain. It's a Jeanette Moore thing. Ho'oponopono. That Ho'oponopono, my post that brings me traffic currently about Ho'oponopono, I wrote in 2012.
Wow.
And my review of Michael Neill's first book in his trilogy about the 3 Ps, which is called The Inside Out Revolution, I wrote that in 2013. So,
inner content still brings.
Well, so there's something I would enjoy writing on woo-woo for the rest of my life. And so the writing day that I have on Monday, which is this pro-blogging in a funny sort of way, it's me writing as a writer, not attempting to drum up business from it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's me writing for the sake of the joy of writing. So I thought, oh right, okay, so on my Mondays I'm going to write on those and related topics. And we already know, you and I, from mutual conversations on here and clients of yours, that woo-woo, esoteric and spiritual matters draw large audiences, much larger audiences than business.
Yes, that's true.
We know that, don't we?
Yeah,
so on Monday, I wrote about my 3 favourite astrologers, which is never going to bring me a business client. But so what? It's going to bring me people who like astrology. And I know, because one of those is my client, that she gets massive web traffic for free horoscopes, and some of which she converts into paying clients for different products and things. So I've got a list of things that I can write about, like tapping, that 21-day tapping challenge I did. I can review it. I can probably even become an affiliate of it. And let me come back to that in a minute. And Wayne Dyer taught me to do that thing, which I do every day of my life, which is the I Ams. That's from a book of his called I Am Wishes Fulfilled, where you say, I am healed, I am perfect health, I am rich, I am abundant, I am prosperous. And you have to use the expression I am. Mm-hmm. And I go back to Sandy Forster's Wildly Wealthy Fast affirmations, which I can see is also a traffic generator. I love to do all of these things. I love to write about them. And I'm never going to lose interest ever in this sort of stuff, quite the opposite. And somebody who's in one of my groups, when I said this is what I was going to do, she said, oh, I love it when you write about things like that. So it's been marvelous. Now, another one of my clients, I was explaining this to her because she is also a writer, and she wanted to, and a blogger as it happens, and we were talking about affiliate links. And going back to your Nicola's book, the short memorable thing, I said what we should both do is we should draw up a short list of things. So for instance, on the wealth dynamics profiles, the affiliate link that I have is blah de 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 blah / with 1,000 numbers. So I bought a URL, which is yourwealthprofile.com. And then I cloaked my affiliate link onto that. And that means every time I want to hyperlink to that, I never have to go away and look up my alphanumeric. I just hyperlink my website. Now, I wouldn't do that with everyone, but what we can do with the Bitly and those kind of things is we can turn the affiliate link into something we can easily remember. So if I made a top 10 list of things I wanted to recommend, I could call it, I don't know. Oh, no, a word that I can remember. So if I'm recommending
JudithResources.com.
Well, no. A different one for each one. So if I'm recommending, Wayne Dyer's I Am, my affiliate link is cloaked with, I Am Wayne or something like that. So I can remember. I've got my short list, and it's not alphanumeric anymore. Yeah. I've used the short link, one of those short linky things. You can change them, can't you? You can change the link.
Don't use Bitly.
No, I won't use Bitly. But what I'm saying is, all I just need is to turn it into words away from the alphanumeric, and then I don't even need to look them up. The reason I never stud my stuff with affiliate links, I can't be bothered mid-post to go off and look up what is my affiliate link. Yeah. But if I could remember 5 or 10 of them and use them all the time because they're my favourites.
Yeah, I've got beeverywhereonline.com, and it points to the post on my own website, which actually now is nicolacairncross.com/be everywhere online. But it's
easy to remember.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Actually, yes.
Yeah. So, so I just don't use. I found that all my Google links that I'd cloaked a load of stuff with a while ago just don't work anymore. And I was actually using them to track click-throughs. I was actually directing people to things on my site.
So what is the best thing for us to recommend people to use for cloaking?
Is to just get proper URLs and redirect them.
So like I did with your wealth profile.
Yes.
So if I wanted to recommend 5, 10 or 20, it's going to cost me 5, 10. Oh, that would be annoying.
A year.
Are you sure that's the only way?
Well, it's the only way if you want to be absolutely sure that they won't stop working and you've been missing out on traffic and income.
But you're saying Google changed it. But why would you not like Bitly?
Because I'll tell you why. Because when I'm on Instagram and I see I want to click through and someone's got a Bitly link, I can't remember it for love nor money.
But this isn't a Bitly link. When you go onto Bitly, it lets you turn it into another link.
Oh, a word link.
Yes.
Well, why don't people do it then? Because
Well, I don't know why they don't do it.
It's impossible to remember a Bitly link.
Yes, it is.
And it's impossible to remember a goo.gl link.
Exactly. But there's on one of these platforms, it may not be Bitly. It might be one of the other URL shorteners. I don't know what they're called.
URL. Yeah,
but you could, the first box it lets you to do is turn something that nobody can remember into something that everybody can remember.
Right. Well, just do that, but just be aware that if you use a third-party tool, it's a good idea to go and check sometimes.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I might make that. If one's a pro blogger, one should do that on the 1st of every month, basically.
Yeah. I mean, who would have thought Google.gl or whatever it is, goo.gl would stop working?
Well, I don't think these big platforms where they do stuff for free are doing it for us, are they? They're doing it for them.
Of course they are.
Yes, they're doing it for them.
Yeah. I said someone emailed me this week saying, oh, thank you for that recommendation you sent me, but, I watched the free videos and then I had to pay something to go any further. And I went back and I said, well, coaching and mentoring is a service. It was a dentist, that was right. And I thought, I bet if I walked into your surgery and wanted a filling for free, I wouldn't get one.
No. Did you say that?
I didn't, but I managed to imply it without saying it.
Well, how interesting, because that takes us directly into focus of the week. So you said to this person, coaching and mentoring is a service, did you?
I said it's a service, and I imagine that person expects to get paid for that.
Yes, okay, so here we go. Focus of the week is how to hire a coach.
Oh, great.
And how I want to handle this is in one half and a second half. And the first half is, what do you and I look for when we hire one? And the second half is, what criteria, if anything, do we think people use before they hire us as theirs? What do we want to be hired for? And related matters, which I'll tell you about when we get there. So you go first. Tell us how you hire a coach for yourself.
I want someone down to earth, very direct, someone who will have the balls to tell me what I'm missing. They've got to have done what I want to do. Otherwise, I'm not interested in hiring them. I don't want. But although, having said that, I have had one coach in my life who hadn't had anything to do with what I wanted to do. Oh no, that's not true. Rachel Turner.
Yes,
she is a real traditional coach.
Yes, she is.
Could coach someone on anything.
Yes,
because she's so good. But I did hire her originally because she had run a record company and a publishing company and a management company. So. Yeah. That's why I went looking for her. But nowadays, I will only hire someone who's more successful than me, probably male, because I like the male energy better than the female energy.
I was going to say that, yeah.
And that's weird, though. I keep thinking about that a lot, and I can't work out why it is, but I do.
There's something you talked about the other day, and I thought I really need to remind Nicola that the reason that she feels that is because there was something we were talking about on Facebook, and I thought I really need to remind Nicola that the reason she feels that is because she's more drawn to a man than a woman.
I think I feel more like a man than a woman. Man, I feel like a woman.
I've already written tomorrow's newsletter in which I describe the sense of which I've got a blokey energy as well.
Yeah. God, that was a great tune.
I also think in your niche, internet marketing, it's more blokey.
Well, we've been having I don't like a lot of the testosterone stuff. I find it amusing. I don't dislike it. I find it amusing. But I really am drawn to the quieter people, apart from Gary Vaynerchuk. There's nothing quiet about him. But I just I think you can have a down-to-earth, sincere, blokey energy that isn't flamboyant and testosterone-y.
I agree. And actually, I think in 2019 and beyond, gender should be and will be irrelevant.
Well, you say that, but I've got a big aversion to lots of girly coaches, lots of makeup and long hair. And
well, that's only the difference. That's the girly is the extreme
end
of a female coach,
yes,
and the testosterone is the extreme end of the male coach.
yes, absolutely. Yes. So I mean, obviously, I'm lucky enough to talk to you every week, and I get to bring my problems to this podcast. So, but you've got a very down to earth, direct energy, and I value that enormously in you.
I think it's interesting. I'm glad you brought up the point about maleness, because I would have pointed that out to you if you hadn't. I'd forgotten that your very first choice of coach was Rachel, who was a woman, because I was going to say, and you've only ever had male coaches, but no, there's Rachel as well.
Well, if I'd seen a ppicture of her before I hired her, I'd never have hired her in a million years. She was blonde and attractive, and good job I didn't know that.
Well, that's an interesting point, isn't it? Because you say, I'm not drawn, but actually she loves clothes and, hair and things.
But not frilly ones. She's very much a power suit kind of.
She's a stylish bird, she is, yes.
So, yes, but if I remember the first time I met her, I was absolutely shocked to the core that she had such a massive blonde hair and was quite so pretty.
Yes.
She didn't sound like that, and she didn't come across like that when I talked to her. She was very direct and firm when I talked to her, which is
yes,
that was what I wanted in a coach.
Yes, she is quite businesslike.
Yeah. And I've got to say that she did get me thinking about fluffy sock lists and things, and I did cringe inside. But because I respected her enough by then, I went along with it.
Mm.
But so that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone who's done what I want to do. And
that's my only criterion. All I want is I want to pick the brains of somebody who's done what I want to do.
Yeah,
that's all. I don't have any other criteria at all.
But the interesting, I've written down my note here because I knew roughly what we were going to talk about, was someone to ask me the right questions, because
that is proper coaching, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can't guarantee that you're going to ask someone the right question, but it just by querying someone's point of view, viewpoint, outlook, limiting beliefs, negative beliefs, just by picking up.
Yes, and when I query, it's because I want to understand their thinking, because what they're saying isn't falling naturally on me and I don't get it. So I'm asking questions. Well, curiosity, which is, the perfect way to ask a question, really. Just say more about that. I don't really understand what you're saying. So I'm seeking to understand their viewpoint where it's different from mine. Not to say that mine's better, just so that I can better understand theirs.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would only hire someone I knew nowadays. I don't think I'd go and hire a complete stranger.
Well, listen, let's talk about how you get to know them, because when you James I would regard as one of yours, but you didn't know him when you found him. So how long do you have to hang out online with somebody before you?
I heard about him for years before.
So you're saying heard about him counts as knowing him in this sense?
I heard about him and watched videos and listened to his podcasts.
Okay. So that leads us on to my next point. What criteria, if any, do we think people use before they hire us as theirs? And what do we want to be hired for? And how important is it to click with your coach? Because I learned something in the Cashflow game that I'll explain to you in the end. And what I realised when I wrote this question was, actually, we don't really know what criteria people use before they hire us as theirs.
No, and it's impossible to find out even when you ask your existing client.
Well, about 50% of people say this bizarre thing, which I quite like now, which is, I like what you put out on Facebook.
Yeah.
And they're often lurkers who've never liked or engaged or commented. They're just surfing, looking and enjoying.
Yeah.
The invisibles.
Well, I like what you put out on Facebook too. Even though it's not my usual kind of thing.
Well, you see, that's sort of what I want to be hired for. What I put out on Facebook is what I want to leverage so that they know, like, and trust me before they end up in my diary.
Yeah.
Because then it's easier. Then I know there's an odds-on chance we might actually click.
Yes, because you had those other people who came via search engines who didn't look at your...
Well, apart from the venture capitalist guy, yes, because we clicked in the call. But and then he read my newsletter, because when they book in via Setmore, they automatically get added to my newsletter list. How they do, I don't know, but I must have set that up somehow. But I want them to read all of the stuff. The stuff I put out, which we think of as marketing, I want them to know who I am before they hire me.
Yeah, and you also want to repel the people who don't like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't terribly successful at that this week, but which prompted this discussion. But we don't know, and you're absolutely right. It's a bit like when you say to people, "How do we know one another?" People say things like the internet.
Yeah.
They don't really know how they know you, do they?
No, because it comes from lots of different places.
Yeah.
If it's all working right. And so I ask my clients, because one of my fascinations is what keywords should I be optimizing my blog for?
Yes.
And I went and asked all my existing clients, what if they didn't know me, what might they have put into Google search for me? And they all said things like social media strategy, social media plan, how to make social media work for me, social media marketing for my business. And I thought, well, none of that.
Well, they're all blog post titles, though, aren't they?
Sorry?
They're all blog post titles.
They are, but they've been done a million times. I'm bored to death of them, and I haven't got anything new to say about
that's what I said to you last week.
Yeah, it's a problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
So but they weren't looking for a mentor or a coach. It was only when they started coming across my stuff and realising that the stuff I was talking about, they might need some help with.
Yeah.
It's a slow process.
It can be a slow process, I agree. Yeah.
Which is why you have to do it a lot for a long time.
And if you could do it round the other way, is since we don't know what criteria they're using, what do you wish they were using? What do you want to be hired for?
I want to be hired by people who might either spend $2,000 on a training program with no access to a coach. I want to be hired because people want to ask me lots of questions.
Yeah.
I'm very accessible. There's no other, well, I'm pretty sure in Europe, there's no other internet marketing, training, business marketing coach that's so accessible. I have weekly calls. They've got an app. They can ask me questions anytime. I respond within a day. It's just not. So I'm trying to save people from investing in these big launch program things that come along every so often.
Yeah.
Where they haven't got any access to ask anyone questions. I want people to ask me lots of questions.
Yes.
I want people to use me to shortcut the time frame, to avoid making the mistakes, to stop spending money on things they don't need to.
You see, that's quite hard. That's also quite hard.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, there's a woman in my diary tomorrow who was in Club 100 ages ago and didn't really get a great result from it. And she went off and spent all the big money and all the big programs, and she came back and she said, hands down, yours was the best thing I did. But she didn't know that at the time because she had nothing to compare it to. Yeah. And so she fell foul of all that marketing where you think you're going to become an overnight success, and then came back to me, which was quite gratifying in a way. But how we stop people making expensive mistakes, I don't know. There's
some sort of seduction, NLP hypnosis thing going on there, and I don't think people necessarily do it on purpose. But I think, because I've been known to fall for it in the past.
Right.
I've signed up for things, I've paid for things, and most of them.
Me too.
Yeah. I'm a diligent student and I apply the things.
Yeah.
I look, then do. Whereas a lot of people just look, and that somehow satisfies their amygdala or whatever it is. It makes them think they've done something. Whereas actually, no, you have to actually do something.
So do you put that message out strongly that your raison d'etre is to save them from those expensive mistakes that don't guarantee any results at all, and that this is quite hard work and no, not hard work, but long work. You've got to dig in and work with you for a while. Do you put that message out clearly, do you think?
I do. But then as we both know, they never read your website.
No, I know.
I think what's happening now is they're watching the videos, especially the 1 minute videos. They're having a phenomenal result, as I'll tell you in the next section. But I think what's happening is something's catching their attention. They don't know, either they don't know that they're in the market for this, or they haven't thought that there might be that solution out there, and they just literally come and sign up from the videos. I don't think they read my marketing materials at all.
Well, that's my point I keep trying to make, isn't it?
Yeah.
But maybe the marketing materials then we're putting out, we're doing for traffic purposes. And then once they get to us, they click with us or don't, or see something that furthers the relationship or doesn't. I don't know, really. It's a bit of a conundrum, isn't it?
It is a conundrum. I've been, what Frank Kern's doing now is he's going live. So he wants people to buy his new course. And his new course looks great. And he's doing it so simply. It's almost like the last 10 years haven't existed.
Oh, good, in a way, because they haven't improved things, have they?
Well, no, they've made things a lot more complicated, a lot more expensive, and a lot more confusing.
Yes.
But going back, what Kern's doing is he's talking every day on Facebook, which is giving him a bigger and bigger reach each day as more and more people engage. He's using a short URL to send them to something where they can buy his book. And or sign up for a free video, which is a sales video, but it does teach you a bit. In fact, it doesn't actually. It just shows you lots of his results because I watched it this morning at 5 a.m. And then you sign up for the class or you don't. It's there's no email follow up. There's no opt-ins anywhere. It literally is watch these videos or don't. And you wouldn't, obviously, because you hate video.
Well, actually, I get to the same result, though, when this venture capital guy who hasn't... there's 2 clients at the moment, and he's one of them, and they say, oh, get me signed up. And I go, I can't. You have to decide what you want, what you will pay for it, and book yourself into my diary. And I'm not a nanny.
Well, that's another thing, isn't it? You want to repel the kind of people who are looking for things like accountability.
Well, actually, I'd work with both of those. They're really nice people. It's just that I don't know what the resistance. I don't know, but and you can bend over backwards too much. You can say things like, my coaching slots are 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday afternoon. But if that doesn't suit because you're at work or it clashes with your hours, let me know and we'll find something. And so they can't actually. I can't sign them up for. Unless they want to go on either of the programs, I can't sign them up. They're wanting me to book me in. I can't book you in. You haven't said what you want. It's like they're trying to get me to bully them into starting. Yeah. And I'm not doing that because I've got to have some... they've got to do it from their end. Otherwise, I can't, hold out a hand and I'll grab it. I can't pull you up from,
this is why I couldn't be doing what you're doing. I have to just say, look.
Well, it's not the majority of people. It's just 2 people. But anyway, let me tell you what I learned about why I want to be hired and why I put out all this know, like, and trust material, because the Cashflow game last Friday taught me this as well. Mm-hmm. The ladies there I had worked with between 2 and 5 years, and they're all still current clients. I told them on the day, because this is my want, and I think the game requires it, that when they demonstrated certain sorts of behaviour, I felt affection or respect or admiration or gratitude or inspiration or focus or whatever. But what I got back from them was they feel all of those things for me too. So it's the mutual affection, rapport, respect, admiration, gratitude, inspiration, a genuine duty of care in both ways that makes the longer relationships I have work.
Yeah.
So it's human stuff that makes it work. The context is whatever they want it to be about, their art, their writing, or their business.
Yeah. Funny, I had a call with someone at the beginning of this week, and he says he's going to sign up today. And I met him literally at a workshop so long ago, I can't even remember. I remember exactly where it was, and he was with his dad. He was a teenager with his dad. And he's now come back to me in his mid-20s, I think. So it was 10 or 15 years ago, it must have been. And I've sort of followed him on social media, and he sort of follows me, but, he dips in and out. And I just thought, all of my sign-ups recently have been old clients.
Yes.
Or people I've known for...
Well, that's relationship-based, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I tell you what would be useful, because we're drawing to a close on this topic, is if listeners have got a viewpoint on this, please go into the group and tell us, what criteria do you use when hiring a coach? And if you are a coach, if you've got any answers to these questions that we clearly don't have.
Absolutely nothing on this.
I suspect it's a very personal and individual thing.
Yeah. And
now, Nicola, sorry, just hang on. I think that might be my groceries, as predicted. Hold on. I love it when they come early.
Yes.
Now,
I might leave all of that in because I sat and had a little hairbrush.
Okay, I was going to say, what time is it? 12:45 if you wanted to edit it. Right, so moving swiftly along to your word of the week.
It is, oh God, I've got a complete blank in my book there. You tell me yours first.
Yes, mine is solo, because I learnt in the Cashflow game, stop doing that, Judith.
Right, okay. Mine will be questions, because I've been asked great questions this week and that made me think differently.
And like you, actually, I love being asked questions as well.
Yeah, because it gets you thinking, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And we like thinking.
Paradigm shifts are marvellous things.
We like thinking. Right, Right, now, you implied you had lots to tell me in project updates.
Well, I've got, I've been taking, I've probably told you this already, so I don't want to repeat myself, but I had one more look at something today. I looked at my Instagram results today, and I could see that my results and my YouTube results and my Facebook results, everything is up in the order of 200 to 400%.
Oh, very good.
Just, these daily videos. I mean, I know a lot of people won't be able to do daily lives. I'm struggling to do a daily live, although I am trying. And so these little videos that I make, they take me a couple of hours a week. I sit there and I record I record 7, I edit 7, I take a screenshot of the first screen for the picture for the first 7. I write a little description for the first 7. It takes me 2 hours all told. Upload it to YouTube, send it off to Rev to be transcribed, and then I don't see them again until they appear all over the internet. And it's just such an efficient way to do some marketing that really, really makes a difference to your traffic. And I mean, my Instagram profile views are up 400% on last month, which is just, it's a lot. So it's definitely making people pay attention and hopefully repelling the people who I don't want.
Yes. Is that it?
Yes.
Marvellous. Mine, I've sort of told you about really. I did do writing day 2. I did a bit of a cheat on it because Hilda asked me if I could repurpose that article in last week's newsletter about doing your thing first. And she wanted to share it. And so I made it into a blog and a Facebook note, and I could see that she did share it to her community, which was very nice. And then I wrote the one about the astrologers. So my project updates, on week 2, I've already worked out that what I'm going to write about on Mondays is all the woo-woo stuff for the foreseeable future. And I've written here testing, 1, 2, 3, because you don't really know, do you? Until, one post about astrology is not going to prove my theory.
No, that's right. And this is really interesting, this thing about testing, because a lot of people over-question everything so much instead of just trying something out.
Yeah, it's one of the things, actually, if anything, I know you're not going to die, but we should put this on your headstone, which is, if somebody said to me, what's the one thing you learned from Nicola Cairncross, I would say, test it, because you don't really know.
Or give it a go in the first
place. Yes.
Because nobody knows. Your coach can't tell you if it's going to work. We can't tell you if it's going to work for you.
Well, no, Warren Buffett says he can't read the future, so, And also, if you have a sort of feeling, an intuitive nudge, follow through.
Yeah, I always do if I have an intuitive nudge.
But when we were talking about the pro blogging last week, I thought, it's not right for me. I can't write about it. And then it's like, oh, actually, I could write forever about woo-woo. I was interested in woo-woo from a teenager. I'm 63. I've still not lost interest in it.
Well, that's why I did the money gym, because I couldn't stop myself from being interested in how money works.
Oh, I'm still interested in money as well. Yeah. Right, so before we start number 5, who or what's impressed, I'm going to open up you're going to love this. You're going to absolutely love this. Kath, who is one of our listeners, sent me a message last night on, she communicates with me quite a lot on Facebook Messenger, and she's clearly been busy for January because I haven't really heard much from her. But last night she sent me this message, apropos of nothing at all, I promise, and it says, I've got to read it to you. She made me promise to tell you, actually, okay, which is why I'm looking it up.
Very nice of her.
Here we go. You and Kath waved at each other. Here we go. Just watching a very interesting programme. Ben Fogle, New Lives in the Wild, Channel 5. So many things that are fascinating. It's about a woman called Judith who lives near Donegal off-grid and is a natural medicine teacher, amongst other things. Super intelligent, super brutally honest with Ben Fogle, which makes him squirm. But she has a lot of clutter, so you might feel a bit ill watching it. But she's one epic woman, 80 plus, no water, electricity or central heating, worth a watch. And I go, guess what? On this week's podcast that you'll hear Nicola say that this is her new favourite TV show, and I haven't even seen it yet. She was talking about an old man in Arkansas. She goes, no way! Then she goes, make sure you tell Nicola. And here we go. Please ask Nicola if she's watched this one. I hope she has. And then we have a good laugh because I'm saying I'm quite good. Oh, she says, how are you doing? I go, quite good. And I go, in bed in nighty already. She goes, I thought that said you're quite good in bed. So funny. She is very funny. But isn't that weird? Twice in a week I've heard about Ben Fogle and that programme.
It's like the zeitgeist, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Anyway, then she sent me a funny message saying that she'd listened to us on her drive to Scotland and on her drive back, and that she talks to us. She has a 3-way conversation with us when we're podcasting.
Oh, that's awesome.
Now, tell me who or what's impressed you this week.
Oh, I've got someone good for you this week.
Good.
This is the synchronicity spookiness. Are you ready?
Yes.
Where were we? I can't remember. We were recording Right Club the podcast, and we did 4 episodes as soon as I got back on Sunday. And we were recording about literary festivals. And someone said to me, I wonder if there's a sci-fi literary festival you want to find out.
Yes. I know what you're going to tell me.
No. What?
Well, I sent you a link this week to a sci-fi lit fest.
Well, I'm probably the one I'm about to tell you about.
Yes.
Because I Googled it. I found a new festival in, we think it's the UK's first sci-fi horror and
it's in Scotland.
Yes, it is.
And I tagged you on the post saying, Nicola, you probably should go to this.
Well, funny enough, this week I am just doing exactly that.
Oh.
The literary festival is called Chimera.
Yes.
Chimera.
Yes, you know what that means, don't you?
Yes, I do. The three-headed dog mythology, etc. Because she's doing sci-fi, horror, and fantasy, that's what she chose for the name.
Yes.
Really incredible lady called Anne Landman, with a double N, and I interviewed her this week for Right Club the podcast, all about why she had the idea to set it up, which she did when she was doing an MA in literary art event management, and that she crowdfunded it, Judith. So she put it on Crowdfunder and crowdfund.co.uk or whatever it is, and she smashed her target, and she got this literary festival up and running. She's got 70 authors coming to talk over 2 days in Scotland. So I'm very much looking forward.
Well, that's spookier than you know, because I've already tagged you in that post in the last week.
But I haven't seen that yet.
No, because people sometimes don't see tags, even though their names come up in blue. I don't know why they don't.
Because I have to go into a specific part of my account to allow it.
Ah.
Because I've got my account set up not to everything that I'm tagged in.
Okay.
So how weird that I should find her on exactly the same week you tagged me on her. That's
yes. Tagged might be not the right word. It wasn't. I didn't. I drew your attention to it. What I said wouldn't have put it on your page. I don't think. Anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
So, I'm very excited. She was a very impressive bird. She had the idea. She got it up and running. She wrote her MA. Her MA was the business plan. And then as soon as it was done, she put it on Crowdfunder and did it.
And is it Edinburgh?
Yes.
And does she live in Edinburgh?
Yes.
You know, Edinburgh is a fantastic city for writers. And it's absolutely the place to be for a literary festival. And what you've made me realise is, because I don't care for it, and just like do you know what that story tells me? It's the thing that we say all the time about people buying what they want, not what they need. They crowdfunded a literary festival. You know, people have given up on, the world. And so they're just reading their favourite novels and going to festivals about it.
Yes.
And so it's all leisure pursuits and hobbies and stuff. What's the other point about this? Oh yes, sci-fi. I wouldn't walk to the front door for sci-fi, honestly, and it's about 5 yards from here.
I absolutely love it.
I know. But my point is that what she proves is that it's huge.
Well, there's lots of people who do like it.
It's huge, yeah.
And they tend to be raving fans as well.
Well, and if they've got 70 authors on the topic.
Yeah, that's, and that's just the UK.
Yeah.
What about you then?
Oh, well, talking of impressive birds, which is what I think you just called that woman, yeah. I booked a cleaner to come on Tuesday because I was supposed to have this friend visiting tomorrow, and I've got these 2 friends coming to lunch on, and this house is very dust making. I've never lived in a house before where a film of dust appears on the surfaces between my monthly cleaning visits. Anyway, between us, the agency that I've used it all the time I've been here. So they came in November when I was poorly, and then they came in December to prepare for my Christmas. Now they're coming in January to prepare for my friends. And I used it all the time when I was in London. They're called Fantastic Cleaners, and they are fantastic. And I know how to use their website, and I always book online. But somehow there was a glitch this time. And because I'm in a house that isn't mine, and I don't know where everything is, I tick the box marked bring the equipment that you need, including the cleaning materials. And when the confirmation came through the night before, it hadn't got the box ticked marked equipment. And I didn't know where the Hoover was. I didn't know whether the Hoover worked. I didn't know where the mop and bucket was. And sitting where I'm sitting now, which is where I've sat every day since Halloween, I can see the garden fence. And hanging off the garden fence, you won't believe this, is a red-handled mop. And I'd looked at it every day, and I kind of thought, I wonder what that is then, but not enough to go out and have a look. And when I realised she was coming round without any equipment, I was pleased to discover that I had a mop and bucket. And after she got here, we found a Hoover in the understairs cupboard, but she was Russian, which meant we had absolutely no language in common.
Oh my God,
And she went upstairs with the Hoover, and straight away she did what all cleaning ladies do, is that they alert you to the fact that the Hoover doesn't work. So I went next door to Hazel and Roger and said, can I borrow your Hoover? And she said, it doesn't work. And I went next door to, what was her name, that woman that helped me in on the first day I arrived here? Leanne, and she wasn't in. So I couldn't borrow a Hoover. So I came back, and the Russian lady, who was, I don't think as old as me, but getting on a bit, then chose a stiff brush and brushed the grubby carpets throughout this house to impressive effect on her hand and knees. And I've written here, the woman was made of stern stuff. Now, no doubt she went home and complained volubly to her friends, family and employer, but not to me. And her employer had said to me overnight, I'm sorry she can't bring the equipment because she's coming on public transport. She brought the detergents on public transport and she brushed my carpets, which, funnily enough, of course, unless you've got a Hoover with attachments, which I think most people have these days, you can't do a good job on the stairs. So a stiff brush to the stairs is made a fantastic effect here. But would you do that for a living? Brush your carpets?
No, not for a living.
Not unless you came from Russia.
No, and we're grateful to be here.
Quite.
And on that note.
Yes, let's move swiftly along. Nice to talk to you. See you next week.
Yes, lovely.
Okay, bye.
How do they do it? Not a care and suffering. Wanna step into their world. Who holds
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.